People often ask me, why did you keep your wife a secret? They assume it must have been because I was ashamed, afraid, or trying to hide something. But the truth is much simpler and much more important. I wasn't hiding the relationship, I was protecting it. There is a difference that many people never stop to think about. In today's world, we've somehow started believing that if something isn't constantly posted, photographed, or discussed online, then it isn't real. We've confused visibility with value. But the strongest things in life don't become stronger because millions of people are watching. They become stronger because two people continue choosing each other when no one else is looking. Think about the greatest innovations ever created. Before they changed the world, they spent years developing behind closed doors. They weren't announced every single day. They were protected while they were growing. Relationships deserve the same respect. Love isn't a marketing campaign. It isn't a performance. It's a commitment built through ordinary moments that no camera will ever capture. It's the quiet conversations after a difficult day. It's supporting each other when nobody applauds. It's solving problems together instead of proving to strangers that everything is perfect. The world has become addicted to validation. Every photo, every update, every announcement seems to ask one question: do you approve? But real love asks a completely different question: are we building something that lasts? Those are not the same thing. Public attention can disappear overnight. Likes fade, opinions change, trends come and go. But trust, loyalty, and respect become stronger every time you choose your partner over public approval. I realized early that not everyone who watches your life wants the best for it. Some people celebrate you, others compare themselves to you. Some misunderstand you. Others quietly hope you fail. Why give every opinion equal access to something that means everything to you? Not every door should remain open. Boundaries are not walls built out of fear. They are filters built out of wisdom. The people who truly matter never needed constant proof that I loved my wife. She knew it because she experienced it every single day. That mattered infinitely more than convincing the rest of the world. A relationship should never become a stage where two people perform for an audience. It should be a place where two people grow without needing applause. If your love depends on being seen, it becomes fragile. But when it is rooted in trust instead of attention, it becomes almost impossible to break. And that's the kind of foundation worth protecting. Because the strongest love is never the loudest. It's the one that remains unshaken when no one is watching. I've learned that attention is one of the most misunderstood forms of success. People celebrate it, chase it, measure themselves by it, and sometimes sacrifice the things that matter most just to receive a little more of it. But attention is not the same as fulfillment. It's not the same as peace. And if you ever have to choose between protecting your peace and feeding the world's curiosity, choose peace every single time. There came a point where I realized that every part of life exposed to constant public discussion begins to carry a different kind of weight. Suddenly, simple moments are no longer simple. A dinner becomes a headline. A vacation becomes speculation. A quiet afternoon becomes content for someone else's opinion. Over time, you stop living naturally because you're unconsciously aware that someone is always watching. That is not freedom. That is pressure disguised as popularity. I never wanted the person I loved to carry that burden. She deserved mornings that belonged only to us, conversations that weren't analyzed, and memories that didn't have to compete with expectations from people who didn't know us. Love should feel like home, not like a stage where every action is judged by strangers. The world often rewards visibility, but visibility comes with a price. Every additional pair of eyes brings another opinion. Some opinions are encouraging, but many are unnecessary. People project their own fears, insecurities, and assumptions onto your life. They tell you how your relationship should look, how you should behave, and what success should mean. If you listen to enough outside voices, eventually you struggle to hear your own. That's why boundaries became one of the greatest investments I ever made. A boundary isn't about shutting people out. It's about protecting what deserves to grow without interruption. Every meaningful project requires focus. Every meaningful relationship requires the same thing: constant interruptions, endless commentary, and the pressure to explain every decision slowly erode the quiet confidence that healthy love depends on. Peace isn't something you stumble upon after achieving enough success. It's something you deliberately protect every day. It lives in the choices you make, the conversations you refuse to entertain, and the access you choose not to give away. You don't owe the world unlimited entry into your personal life simply because they're curious. Ironically, the less energy I spent trying to convince people that my relationship was real, the more real it became. We invested that energy into each other instead. into trust, into shared goals, into building a life that felt authentic rather than impressive. That shift changed everything because relationships don't survive on attention, survive on intention. In the end, people may remember what you achieved, but the people closest to you will remember how safe they felt in your presence. And there is no greater success than building a life where peace is protected more fiercely than popularity. One of the most surprising lessons I've learned is that the world celebrates success much more easily than it celebrates happiness. People admire achievements because they can measure them. They can see the company, the house, the award, or the milestone. But genuine happiness is different. It's deeply personal, and because of that, it often attracts something unexpected. The moment people see someone who is truly at peace, some are inspired, but others become uncomfortable. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because your peace reminds them of the peace they haven't found yet. Success often earns applause. Happiness, on the other hand, invites opinions. Suddenly, people want to analyze your choices, question your relationship, and predict how long your joy will last. It's a strange reality, but one worth understanding. Not everyone who watches your life is watching because they care. Some are watching to compare, some are waiting for mistakes. Others simply want confirmation that lasting happiness isn't possible because believing that makes their own disappointments easier to accept. I refuse to let those voices become part of my marriage. The relationship that mattered most deserved better than becoming a conversation for people who had never shared a single moment of our lives. There is incredible freedom in realizing that you don't have to answer every question or satisfy every curiosity. Some parts of life become stronger precisely because they remain protected from unnecessary attention. I've always believed that building anything meaningful requires focus. Whether you're designing a new technology, solving a difficult problem, or building a family, constant distractions reduce the quality of the outcome. Relationships are no different. Every rumor, every assumption, every public debate steals attention that could have been invested in understanding each other better. Instead of allowing outside noise to define our story, we chose to write it ourselves. One quiet day at a time. People often assume privacy means secrecy. I see it differently. Privacy is respect. It says this part of my life is too valuable to expose to every passing opinion. We protect priceless things without apologizing for it. We don't leave treasured possessions unattended simply to prove they exist. We care for them because they matter. The same principle applies to the people we love. Over time, I realized that happiness doesn't need an audience to become real. It doesn't become more meaningful because thousands of people witness it. In fact, some of the richest moments in life happen when no one else knows they happened at all. A shared laugh, an honest conversation, silent support during difficult days. Those moments build a relationship that no headline could ever capture. The world will always have something to say. Today it praises you, tomorrow it questions you, and the day after it moves on to someone else. But the life you build behind closed doors remains when the noise fades away. Protect that life with everything you have because applause is temporary. But a love that survives without needing the world's approval is a victory that time itself cannot erase. There is something we rarely talk about when people discuss love, and that is the responsibility that comes with it. Loving someone is not only about making them feel valued, it's also about making them feel safe. Safety isn't always physical. Sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's mental. Sometimes it's simply giving someone the freedom to live without feeling like they are constantly being watched, judged, or expected to become someone they never wanted to be. When people asked why I didn't put my wife in the spotlight, they assumed she was missing out on something. I saw it differently. I believed she deserved something far more valuable than public recognition. She deserved a normal life whenever possible. She deserved the freedom to walk into a room without every conversation shifting toward her. She deserved to make mistakes without strangers turning them into headlines. She deserved to laugh, grow, dream, and simply be herself without carrying the weight of millions of expectations. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming that when two lives come together, both people must accept the exact same level of public exposure. But love isn't about forcing someone into your world. It's about creating a world where both people can thrive. Just because one person's work attracts attention doesn't mean the other person should lose the right to privacy. Individuality doesn't disappear when commitment begins. In fact, healthy commitment protects it. I never wanted my relationship to become a symbol that people would endlessly analyze. I wanted it to remain a relationship. There is a huge difference between being known and being understood. Millions of people can know your name without understanding your heart. The opinions of strangers should never become more influential than the peace shared between two people who truly know each other. Real leadership begins at home. Before you can inspire the world, you have a responsibility to care for the people who trust you most. That responsibility isn't fulfilled with grand speeches or expensive gifts. It's fulfilled through daily decisions. Sometimes the most loving decision is invisible. Sometimes it means saying no to opportunities that would bring attention but steal peace. Sometimes it means protecting someone else's comfort, even when it costs you public approval. I learned that strength isn't measured by how much attention you can attract. It's measured by what you're willing to protect. Anyone can chase recognition. It takes wisdom to recognize when recognition begins to demand too high a price. If the cost of admiration is the well-being of someone you love, then the price is simply too great. At the end of the day, I never wanted my wife to feel like she was living inside someone else's story. I wanted her to have the freedom to write her own, to pursue her own passions, and to enjoy the quiet moments that make life meaningful. That was never about hiding her. It was about honoring her. Because the deepest form of love is not putting someone on display for the world to admire. It is standing between them and unnecessary burdens so they can live with dignity, freedom, and peace. As time went on, I discovered something that completely changed the way I viewed relationships. The strongest love rarely announces itself. It doesn't need to interrupt every conversation or prove its existence every day. Instead, it grows quietly, almost invisibly, through thousands of small decisions that nobody else ever sees. That's the kind of love I wanted to build. Not one that looked impressive from the outside, but one that remained unshakable from the inside. Silence has an interesting quality. Most people associate it with distance, but I've found that it can also create incredible closeness. When there is no pressure to perform, no expectation to impress an audience, and no constant need to explain yourselves, you begin to pay attention to what truly matters. You notice the little things. The conversations become more honest. The laughter becomes more genuine. Even difficult moments become opportunities to grow, rather than moments to defend your image. Some of the most meaningful memories in life never appear in photographs. They're found in ordinary mornings, long drives without a destination, quiet dinners after exhausting days, and the reassuring feeling that someone is simply there beside you. Those moments may seem insignificant to the outside world, but over time they become the foundation of a relationship that can withstand pressure. Great relationships are not built during extraordinary events alone. They are built through ordinary days lived with extraordinary consistency. There's a temptation today to document every milestone as if the value of an experience depends on how many people witness it. But not everything meaningful needs an audience. In fact, constantly looking outward can prevent you from being fully present with the person standing right in front of you. The greatest gift you can give someone isn't a perfectly crafted public image. It's your complete attention when no one else is watching. Building love in silence also creates trust. Trust isn't formed by promises made in front of a crowd. It's formed by promises quietly kept day after day. It's showing up when life becomes difficult. It's choosing patience during disagreements. It's celebrating each other's victories without needing public recognition. Those repeated acts of loyalty become stronger than any words ever could. I also realize that silence protects perspective. Without the endless stream of outside opinions, comparisons, and expectations, you begin defining success on your own terms. Suddenly, the relationship is no longer competing with anyone else's version of happiness. It becomes unique, authentic, and deeply personal. That freedom allows both people to grow naturally instead of constantly measuring themselves against unrealistic standards. When you invest your energy into understanding each other instead of convincing the world, something remarkable happens. Love stops feeling fragile and starts feeling permanent. It becomes a place of stability in a world full of noise, uncertainty, and constant change. And that's when you understand that the greatest relationships are never built for the spotlight. They are built in the quiet, where trust grows deeper than words, loyalty speaks louder than applause, and two hearts become strongest when the world hears the least from them. Looking back, I realize that the achievements people celebrate the most were never the ones that gave my life its deepest meaning. Success can open doors, it can create opportunities, it can solve complex problems and inspire millions of people. But when the day is over and the noise finally fades, you begin to understand that none of those accomplishments matter very much if the people closest to you no longer feel safe, valued, or at peace. That realization changes your priorities in a way nothing else can. For a long time, I believe that building extraordinary things required extraordinary sacrifice, and to some extent that's true. Every meaningful mission demands time, discipline, and resilience, but there is one sacrifice that should never become acceptable: the well-being of the people you love. If your ambition leaves behind broken relationships, constant anxiety, or a family that feels forgotten, then you've achieved something impressive at the expense of something irreplaceable. That is why protecting my wife was never a distraction from success. It became part of success itself. I didn't measure the strength of our relationship by how many people admired it. I measured it by whether she could smile without pressure, dream without fear, and live without feeling like every step she took had to satisfy someone else's expectations. Those things will never make headlines, but they are the victories that shape a meaningful life. People often ask what legacy really is. Many assume it's the companies you build, the inventions you leave behind, or the records your name appears beside. Those things have value, but they tell only part of the story. Legacy is also measured in quieter ways. It's found in the trust you earn from your family, the confidence you give the people closest to you, and the environment you create where love can grow without fear. Years from now, people may remember your accomplishments, but those who shared your life will remember how you made them feel. I came to understand that leadership doesn't end when you leave the office or step away from a public stage. Leadership continues in the smallest decisions: listening when you're tired, choosing patience when it's easier to react, protecting someone's dignity when no one else would notice, and placing their well-being above your own desire for recognition. Those moments rarely receive applause, yet they reveal more about your character than any public achievement ever could. There will always be another opportunity to gain attention. There will always be another audience, another interview, another milestone to chase. But the opportunity to protect someone's heart is far more fragile. It exists in the present moment, and once neglected, it cannot always be recovered. That's why the wisest investment you'll ever make is not in your image, but in the people who walk beside you through every season of life. In the end, the greatest measure of success is not how brightly the world knows your name, but whether the people you love can stand beside you, knowing they were always more important than your reputation. Because true greatness is never defined by the spotlight you stand in. It is defined by the shelter you create for those you love when no one else is watching.